At 81 years old, Diana Ross finally reveals the truth about Michael Jackson, a truth she has kept hidden for decades. For years, fans speculated about their mysterious bond, a connection so strong that it went beyond music, beyond friendship, and even beyond family. From the moment she first introduced the Jackson 5 to the world, Ross became more than just a mentor. She became Michael's safe haven. Yet behind the dazzling lights of Motown and the global stage, their relationship carried secrets that only she knew. Some claimed it was love, others insisted it was a maternal bond, and the media spun endless stories. But Diana stayed silent, guarding her truth while the world demanded answers. Even after Michael's tragic death in 2009, she spoke carefully, choosing her words with the grace of someone who had seen too much and felt even more. Fans never stopped asking, what really tied the King of Pop and the Queen of Motown together? Now, at an age when few stars dare to open the deepest chapters of their lives, Diana Ross finally breaks her silence. She speaks not only of Michael's genius and pain, but of the hidden truth that defined their connection, a truth no one outside their circle ever fully understood. The story you're about to hear is not the glossy tale that Motown sold to the world. It is darker, more intimate, and far more human. Because behind the glamour of two icons, there was a bond marked by loyalty, secrecy, and heartbreak. And the truth behind it is much darker. Diana Ernestine Earl Ross was born in 1944 in Detroit, in a working-class neighborhood where families struggled to survive amid the dust of the auto industry. Growing up in that environment, Diana soon understood the injustice of life. A person of color, a girl with a dream of standing on stage. It was not easy at a time when America was rife with racial discrimination. From an early age, she showed a passion for music, singing in the church choir and regularly participating in small school performances. But deep inside, Diana also had a special sensitivity. She longed to be recognized, to be loved, and to be seen for who she really was. Meanwhile, a generation later, a boy named Michael Joseph Jackson was born in 1958 in Gary, Indiana. He was the seventh child in a large, poor family where his strict father, Joseph Jackson, always placed harsh expectations on his children. Michael's childhood was not perfect. He grew up in grueling rehearsals under the pressure of a cold and often violent father. From a very early age, he had to learn to laugh in front of an audience, despite being scared and lonely inside. These two seemingly strange worlds were about to intersect thanks to a common force, Motown Records. Diana, then a shining star with the Supremes, became one of the central figures of this record label. Michael, then just an 11-year-old boy, entered Motown with his brothers in the Jackson 5. Diana saw in Michael something few could recognize, not just a natural talent, but a vulnerable soul that needed to be protected. When Diana Ross introduced the Jackson 5 on national television in 1969, the world witnessed the beginning of a phenomenon. But behind the spotlight, the relationship between Diana and Michael began to take shape. To Michael, Diana was like another mother, gentle, delicate, and ready to protect him from the harsh pressures of his father and the entertainment industry. To Diana, Michael was not just a talented young artist, but a child she felt the need to embrace, caress, and guide. Years later, Michael admitted that Diana was the greatest inspiration for his performance style and confidence. Every gesture on stage, every look, every dance move, Michael learned from Diana. And that affection went beyond the limits of work. It was the attachment of two artistic souls, bound by childhood pain and a desire to be understood. This was the foundation for a relationship that lasted a lifetime, a friendship, a kinship,
and also a mystery that has never been fully solved until today.
In the early 1970s, Diana Ross became a global icon after leaving the Supremes to embark on a solo career. She appeared on television and film and established herself as the Queen of Motown. With her stunning beauty, confident demeanor, and soulful voice, Diana was not only a star, but also a benchmark for young artists to follow. Meanwhile, the Jackson 5, with an initial boost from Diana, quickly became a phenomenon. Hits like I Want You Back, ABC, and I'll Be There rang out everywhere, turning Michael and his brothers from unknown kids in Indiana into teen idols across America. The media even called Michael the youngest star in the world. Behind this explosion, Michael still looked to Diana as a spiritual support. She taught him how to control his gaze when standing in front of an audience, how to create an aura that made it impossible for viewers to look away. Every time Michael appeared on stage, people saw the image of Diana Ross, soft but powerful, graceful but explosive. However, fame came too quickly. When he was just entering his teens, Michael had to face a tight schedule, harsh supervision from his father, and the pressure to always be perfect. In the most suffocating moments, he turned to Diana. For Michael, she was the only person who could listen to the pain that he dared not tell anyone else. In the following years, when Michael became an adult, that relationship continued to develop. Even though he had become a global star, he often mentioned Diana as his greatest inspiration. Many articles at that time even fabricated rumors that Michael was in love with Diana or that the two had a secret relationship that went beyond friendship. But Diana always kept silent, just smiled and affirmed, "Michael will always be a part of my family." Michael's peak of fame in the 1980s with Thriller and Bad made him the most famous artist on the planet. Yet, among millions of fans, he still returned to Diana, like a child returning to its mother's arms. This made many people even more curious. What was that relationship? A secret love? A maternal bond? Or both at the same time? Diana kept it a secret. Michael kept it quiet. And that silence became the fuel for rumors for decades. Behind the spotlight, both Diana Ross and Michael Jackson carried deep wounds, cracks that the public only saw in fleeting moments. For Diana, loneliness was always a silent shadow. Although admired worldwide, she faced the pressures of being a woman of color in an entertainment industry rife with prejudice. Broken marriages, fleeting relationships, and gossip from the press made Diana gradually withdraw. But whenever she thought of Michael, she often said it was a bond that kept me from feeling alone. Michael, on the other hand, was plunged into a much darker spiral. Fame transformed him from a child star into a global phenomenon, but also robbed him of his childhood and privacy. He became obsessed with his appearance, undergoing numerous surgeries and struggling with the feeling that he was never beautiful enough in the eyes of the world. The emergence of scandals, from accusations to lifestyle controversies, made Michael the target of international media. Diana was still there during those years, but she chose to remain silent. She did not follow the media wave, nor did she explain her relationship with Michael. Instead, she protected him in silence, even naming Diana Ross as the second guardian of his 3 children in his 2002 will, an undeniable proof of absolute trust. However, this fact also raised more doubts. Why did Michael trust Diana more than anyone else besides his mother? Was there a secret between them that both decided to carry?
The public only saw rare moments when Diana visited Michael, or when he called her best friend, spiritual mother. But inside was a sad story. Michael gradually fell into the darkness of loneliness, and Diana watched helplessly. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Michael Jackson became the center of lawsuits and scandals. While many relationships fell apart, Michael kept in touch with Diana, confiding in her feelings that he did not tell the public. It is said that when the world turned its back on Michael, Diana remained steadfast in her love, but it was her silence that made the audience more curious than ever. What was the truth that Diana hid during those years? Was it love, or simply sympathy for a soul forever trapped in a stolen childhood?
On June 25, 2009, the world was shocked when the news of Michael Jackson's death spread like a shockwave. Millions of fans poured into the streets, crying in front of their TV screens, and the press reported day and night about the sudden departure of the King of Pop. But among those broken hearts, there was one person who was in more pain than anyone else: Diana Ross. When the will was announced, the public was shocked to discover that Michael had named Diana Ross as the second guardian of his 3 children, after his mother, Katherine Jackson. This was not only a legal action, but also a clear demonstration of the deep relationship that the two had always kept secret. Michael not only considered Diana a friend, but also the only person he trusted to take care of the most precious things in his life. Diana Ross chose to remain silent at that time. She did not speak in front of the camera, did not participate in the public memorial service. Instead, she sent a short but emotional message: "This loss is too great for me to bear." Just one sentence, but enough to make millions of people understand that her feelings for Michael were not simply friendship. Michael's death became the culmination of tragedy in both of their lives. For Diana, it was the loss of a part of her soul, a spiritual child that she had once guided and protected. For the public, it was the moment when all the unanswered questions about their relationship became even more haunting. Why did Michael place absolute trust in Diana? Why did she choose to remain silent even in that fateful moment? More than a decade later, at the age of 81, Diana Ross finally revealed the truth: that the relationship between her and Michael was never something that the press could define. It was not just friendship, not just motherhood, but the bond of 2 lonely souls, finding comfort in each other in a harsh world. In the moment Michael left, that secret was still in Diana's heart, and only when time had calmed everything down did she dare to say, "I loved him in ways that words cannot explain. He trusted me, and I carried that trust in silence." A late confession, but enough to make anyone cry.
As Diana Ross turns 81, every word she says about Michael Jackson becomes a legacy. No longer are they short answers to avoid the media, but confessions from the heart. From someone who witnessed Michael from childhood to becoming a legend, then passing away in tragedy. In a recent interview, Diana shared, "Michael was like family. He carried so much weight on his shoulders, more than anyone should. What we shared was trust, love, and silence. That was our truth." It was not only a confirmation of love, but also a message to the world that Michael, after all, was just a human being, a fragile soul yearning to be understood. The legacy that the two left behind is not only immortal music, it is also a story of rare empathy between 2 stars, a relationship that went beyond normal boundaries. Diana Ross continued to perform, continued to contribute, but in the eyes of the audience, she was forever associated with the memory of Michael. And perhaps that is the ultimate truth, that behind the titles, the halo, and the scandals, Michael Jackson and Diana Ross were simply 2 lonely people, finding comfort and love in each other. A truth that the public had to wait until Diana was 81 to hear. But it was enough to be engraved in music history forever. They were more than just stars. They were two fragile souls, bound by trust and remembered by love.